What is good, Tesla family? It's Ray J back with another video. And in this one, I want to break down what's going on with Tesla stock, what you should be watching for as time progresses. I'm also going to talk about the economic calendar, what the news is saying about Tesla. But before I break anything down, all this information, let me just mention a couple of things. Firstly, I am not a financial planner, so take nothing I say as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out the Moomoo link, which is down below and in the description. If you sign up for Moomoo, the link down below, and deposit $100 into the account, you are guaranteed up to 5 free stocks. If you deposit $1,000, you're guaranteed up to 15 free stocks, and this offer ends very, very soon. Anyways, now let's break down what's going on with the markets. Looking at Tesla right now, we actually have a very, very interesting trend. We attempted to get this break from this pennant to the upside instead of the downside, and now it's coming back down. So overall, this suggests that Tesla's not super strong. It's not breaking out or exploding. It's also not tanking very hard. It's kind of flat right now. And we're going to be watching for bigger developments as time goes on. But I first want to talk about the market real quick. As a reminder, at 10 o'clock a.m., expect a little volatility as we have wholesale inventories coming out. But this is nothing too insane. We also have the New York Fed Treasury purchases at 10:30 a.m., which is very minor data, followed by the 17-week bill auction at 11:30, and then a Fed speaker later on. All the data is very, very minor, guys, not really anything too crazy. So we might see a very choppy day, lots of sideways price action. But I do want to remind you all that for Thursday, January 11th, we have CPI coming out before market open. So today, Wednesday, January 10th, is going to be the last full trading day before CPI comes out. So make sure you're prepared for that. Make sure you're ready. Typically, days like this are very choppy. We were still seeing a lot of indices kind of down since we opened up for the year. When it comes to the SEC, they gave crypto enthusiasts some hope late Tuesday when we ended up seeing the SEC say on an account on X that basically there is a post that came out that the Bitcoin ETFs were approved for trading, but SEC Chair Gary Gensler jumped on his own X account after the other account was compromised, and he said that the post was unauthorized and not made by the SEC or its staff, and they still haven't made a decision. So this actually kind of like limited some hope, at least for these crypto enthusiasts. I still think there's hope for it to eventually come out, of course, but not right now. It may take a while. So this was some negative news. Home prices have surged a little bit as mortgages have been dropping just slightly. And that's very important because supply is still very limited during times like this, but there is still a little pump in demand overall. Lastly, the U.S. lunar company Astrobotic called off its attempt for a soft moon landing, and they mentioned that this could have been the first time in over 50 years. They now are expecting one of their other crews to launch under the program to take place in 2025 instead. So this is right over here. This is going to be a big change right here. They're pushing back the timeline for their moon launch. And that's pretty much it, at least from this company. As far as other news goes, Wall Street sets the Tesla stock price for the next 12 months, and some analysts are saying around 280 a shares, others are saying around 250. Different analysts have different views, but the majority of them are giving Tesla good ratings. You can see it right over here. Others out there are seeing a high of about 380 a share, but on average, from what I found, it still is they are still anticipating some upside. So that's, with the majority of them having strong buy ratings and most are saying to hold Tesla, that's not bad whatsoever. On average, the analysts are saying around 250 a share, but the high price target is 380. I think it's going to reach the higher end by the end of the year, but we'll see just to be safe. Tesla also launches the Model 3 Highland refresh in North America, so it's some good news that came out. This has finally come out, and they're officially going to be taking orders for deliveries within a month, so that's great news for Tesla. Now let's talk about how Tesla's looking. So we actually got a bounce from here. We actually broke above this pennant, and now Tesla's trying to push up a little bit. This suggests that it might uptrend a little bit and try to push higher. So I'm going to be looking at this resistance at 236. If it breaks this, watch this 237.5 range where we have some chop. 238 as resistance. Those are some very very, very tight levels. If it breaks 238, expect to push to 240, followed by 242. For support, watch 234 is going to be critical for Tesla because that's the daily 200 EMA right over here. This is where we're going to be watching this very closely and very carefully. And if we lose that, we have 232 and 230 coming next. So that being said, I think an uptrend could be established and we have 236 plus coming. I think it's going to attempt to break this and then We might see a little push on Tesla. Could get very close to 238, but then I think that it's not going to be pushing for the majority of the day. I think there's going to be a lot of choppy price action as well. We're going to see some sideways price action back and forth and back and forth. And Tesla might close just slightly in the green, maybe kind of flat. I think this because, the market tends to be very choppy on these days before CPI. So look for a little pop on Tesla and a drop and just lots of sideways price action. I think we're going to close very flat. That's what I'm seeing for Tesla. For SPY is looking kind of weak during this pre-market session. But I think that there's going to be an attempt to push up to this resistance. We could be forming a wedge right over here. So if it breaks above 475, you could turn a bit more bullish. We'll be looking for a pushback up to 476 to 477.5. We have a lot of sideways price action in this range. So I think it's going to push up here if we break 475. If we don't do so, if we kind of fail and reject, watch 472 as support. I actually have two main supports I want to call out before I talk about that. So on the 30 minutes time frame, we have the 50 EMA at 473.22. If we lose that, I expect it to come down to 471.78 or just under 472. If we lose that support, then we're going to be sinking back down to 470. So those are two supports, the 50 and 200 EMAs on the 30 minutes time frames on SPY. So basically, if we lose 473, you're going to be watching 472 flat. If that fails us, our next target is going to be all the way down to basically where this wick was right here. And if we lose this wick, I expect this thing to start sinking back down to 470. What do I think is going to happen? I think we're going to push when we open. I'm not sure if it'll break this resistance, but I think that whether we push up and come back down or not, I think there's going to be a lot of choppy price action later on. So look for a push first, a drop, and lots of choppy sideways price action throughout the day. Might be very boring as well. So we'll have to see how this ends up holding up. But I am eyeing a potential bullish structure that could be developing just temporarily. If we're forming if we hold this support like this could be forming a nice bullish wedge where we kind of just get tighter and tighter and tighter and break out. So just to be safe, there could be one more push right before CPI, and then we'll have to see how this ends up going. So be very careful on SPY, and we'll see if this ends up holding up. I do think that there might be a lot of sideways price action, today, so we'll have to see how that ends up holding up. On the QQQ, I just want to mention that the QQQ is very similar to SPY. This could also be forming a potential wedge right over here. Not even a wedge, but like a rising wedge. But I'm not going to worry too much about that. If we hold above 406, there's going to likely be an attempt for 408 and then 410 after we fill our gap. If we fail to hold 404, that's going to be our critical support for today. If 404 breaks, expect this thing to come down to 402, then 400. So if we lose 404, I could see this thing dropping more. If it breaks above 406 and holds above that, we're going to be pushing for at least 408 to 410. So those are the levels to watch for in the QQQ. What do I think it's going to do? I think it's going to push up upon open and see a lot of sideways price action. We'll have to see if we can get a big push first before it comes down and trades sideways or not. But we'll look for a little push up when we open and then expect some sideways price action later on. We could close kind of flat, but I think a little pop is coming. Sideways price action over time, and then we'll have to see if support holds. All right, so I expect lots of chop today, so be very, very careful. On Nvidia, I'm seeing something very similar. I think Nvidia has a nice range developing on it. Look at Nvidia, it's kind of flat. We have resistance now developing at these levels up here. We have 540 as resistance, 542, and then 545, followed by 550. We have support at 533, 530, followed by 528. If we lose 530, we're going to turn bearish and expect a big drop to 524. If we break above 540, there's going to be hope for 545 or so. In my opinion, I think it's going to be range bound, going back and forth and back and forth. We're going to be looking for this thing to kind of sink down a little bit more to 532, then attempt to bounce and just trade sideways for most of the day and remain very choppy. That's what I'm kind of anticipating for Nvidia. But that's what I'm seeing for Nvidia for now. I think it's going to be range bound for today. And if we lose 530, then we could turn a bit more bearish. But for now, I see some sideways price action. Same thing with Aapl. Aapl has supported 184, and we have resistance at 185.5. If we break above 185.5, expect it to break out to 186.5. If we lose 184.25, we're going to come down to 183.5. And if that fails us, we're going to be dropping back down even lower. What do I think it's going to do? I think it's going to be range bound for the majority of the day. Push upon open to 185, come back down, just trade sideways and sideways and sideways as time goes on. there's a potential cup and handle like formation, but it might not break out today. It might just remain very sideways and choppy right before CPI. So that's all I'm really seeing on Aapl. Uh, this could change if we break particular levels like the ones I called out, but for now, that's all I'm seeing. So that being said, thank you all so much for listening. Have a great day, guys. Remain calm, cool, and collected, and watch and see if the market could kind of push upon open, and then it might come back down and just trade very sideways. Also choppy price action today, as it's going to be the day before CPI. And the market tends to be very patient on days like this. With that being said, have a great day, and I'll see you guys very soon on the next one. Thank you, and peace out.